Hi, kids. Welcome to Bear Time Adventures. My name is Charles Wallace, and you can call me Charles. You can call me Mr. Wallace, or if you want, like my own kids call me, you can call me Bear. Okay, raise your hands if you like adventure. Wow, look at all those hands raised. Well, today I'm here to tell you about one of my new characters. He's a superhero. Zoom. So, there was a young boy named Jake Zooman. But Jake wasn't just any kid. He had a cool secret. And with the help of his brilliant grandpa, Professor Seamus Zooman, Jake was also the superhero, Zoom. And Jake, or Zoom, he had the slickest, fastest motorcycle around. His trusty sidekick, Shift. And let me tell you, they were always ready to race into action. One sunny day, when Jake was outside working on shift, the communicator on his wrist buzzed. He looked down. It was Grandpa Seamus calling from their workshop. Jake, we've got some trouble at the junkyard. The junkyard gang built a giant robot dog, and it's out of control. Jake grinned and said, Looks like it's time for Zoom. He pressed a button on his wrist, and in an instant his clothes transformed into a sleek, black, blue, and silver superhero suit with lightning bolts. He reached and grabbed his helmet, hopped on his shift, and with a big roar of the engine, vroom, they sped off toward the junkyard. When Zoom arrived at the junkyard, he saw trouble right away. The junkyard gang, a group of kids who like causing mischief, they were all standing around cheering. They had built a robot dog, and it was stomping through piles of junk, smashing everything in its way. Their leader, Rusty, was laughing as this robot dog crushed an old car. Rusty yelled, Look at Scraphound go! No one will mess with us. But Zoom wasn't impressed. He rode right up to the gang and said, Rusty, your robot dog, Scraphound, he's out of control. Rusty crossed his arms and smirked. Why should we? Scraphound is here to protect us. We're in charge. Zoom shook his head. You don't have to be bullies to be strong, Rusty. Scraphound is dangerous. But Rusty just grinned. Scraphound is the toughest thing around. And suddenly, Scraphound started stomping toward the gang's hideout, smashing more piles of metal along the way. Zoom knew he had to act fast. We've got to stop that thing before it destroys everything. Zoom revved Shift's engine, vroom, and they sped off, dodging Scraphound's massive metal paws, but Scraphound was so strong. Zoom pulled out one of Grandpa Seamus's special gadgets, the magnet gauntlets. He lifted his hands and metal scraps flew up into the air, creating a big barrier in front of Scraphound. Zoom couldn't believe it as he yelled, This thing is unstoppable! Scraphound was getting closer to the hideout, where the junkyard gang stored all their tools and parts. Zoom turned to Rusty and said, Rusty, if you don't help me, Scraphound will destroy everything you've built. Now, Rusty looked nervous, and he said to Zoom, But Scraphound is supposed to protect us. Zoom gave Rusty a serious look. Scraphound isn't protecting anyone now. You don't have to be a bully to be tough. Let's stop Scraphound together. Rusty finally nodded. Okay, Zoom, what do we do? Zoom smiled. We have to try to shut it down using the control panel on its chest. Together, Zoom and Rusty raced toward Scraphound. Zoom swung up on the Scraphound's back with his grappling hook, while Rusty ran beside the robot, dodging its huge metal paws. Now, Scraphound was turning his head, trying to look back to see what Zoom was doing. And while he was doing this, Rusty threw his wrench with all his might and hit the button on the control panel. Rusty couldn't believe it. I got it! And with a loud whirr, Scraphound's lights dimmed and the robot dog came to a stop. That was way too close. Zoom smiled at Rusty. Great job, Rusty. But remember, you don't need to be a bully to be strong. You're a great builder. Use your skills for good. Rusty thought for a moment. You're right, Zoom. What if we fix Scrap Hound and turn him into a guard dog? He could then really protect the junkyard instead of wrecking it. Zoom grinned. That's a great idea. So Zoom and the junkyard gang, led by Rusty, they all worked together to repair Scrap Hound. When they finished, Scrap Hound wagged his metal tail and stood proudly, ready to protect the junkyard. Rusty smiled at Zoom and said, Thanks, Zoom. I guess we don't have to be bullies to be cool after all. Zoom nodded. Exactly. Being a hero isn't about being the toughest. It's about doing the right thing and helping others. As Zoom rode away on shift, he knew the Junkyard Gang had learned an important lesson. Bullying doesn't make you strong. Well, kids, I hope you liked that story. And I hope you learned, just like the Junkyard Gang, you don't need to bully others to prove you're strong. True strength, it comes from using your talents to help others and by working together. Well, that's it for today. Please come back next time for more stories on Bear Time Adventures.